The audience was buzzing with anticipation as Harrison Ford made his entrance on The View to promote his new film, a dramatic historical epic. He described in earlier interviews as the most personal project of his later career Ford was known for. His direct manner, his quiet charisma, and a sense of controlled intensity that had followed him through every role, from action hero to dramatically. The panel welcomed him warmly at first with laughter about his iconic characters and remarks about his longevity in an industry that rarely treats age with grace, but almost from the beginning there was an odd current in the air. As if Joy Behar had something pointed on her mind that she hadn't yet spoken, Joy smiled, but it was tight, not quite genuine, and while the others asked about filmmaking and legacy, Joy waited her turn, silently flipping through her note cards, her tone sharp from the moment she finally leaned in. Asterisk. She asked Harrison whether he felt responsible for how some of his past roles represented masculinity and if he believed those portrayals had contributed to the so-called toxic culture now being questioned by a new generation of viewers. Ford blinked slowly, visibly processing the unexpected turn in tone before replying in his gravelly voice that acting is storytelling and that audiences are capable of separating character from truth. He said flatly, "I play people, not ideologies, but..." Joy pushed again, accusing the actor of sidestepping his influence as a cultural figure. Ford sat back with a small, sardonic grin, then said, "Influence is the most overused word in Hollywood. People say it when they want to turn entertainment into lectures." Joy responded, saying that ignoring impact is a privilege and that stars like Ford didn't get to decide how the public interpreted their work. The audience stirred, the energy shifting from admiration to uncertainty as the conversation veered far from what they had expected. Ford's expression darkened just slightly, and he replied firmly that the responsibility of representation lies with the writers and the world, not with someone hired to embody a role. He mentioned that his career included vulnerable, broken characters, not just tough guys, but that complexity didn't trend on social media, so no one remembered it. Joy raised her voice slightly, asking, "Isn't that convenient, though, to say you're just the actor? When your face is the one people worship?" Ford chuckled dryly and said, "Worship? That's a weird word to throw at someone who's done his job for 50 years and just wants to talk about his movie." Joy wasn't done. She asked if he had ever reflected on his privilege in the industry, particularly as a white male star who had never been canceled, never had to answer for anything. Ford narrowed his eyes and said carefully, "I don't do culture wars, I do work, and that's what I came here for. If you want to talk about history or justice, do it with someone who writes books, not makes movies." Asterisk. The silence that followed was electric. The studio still, but heavy with the weight of egos and intention clashing on live TV. The other hosts, Whoopi, Sunny, and Sarah, looked on nervously, each trying to gauge whether they should intervene or let the moment burn itself out. But Joy leaned in again, her voice sharp as she asked whether Ford believed he was too old to understand the moment America is in right now, and if maybe he was out of touch. Ford sat back, looked at her for a long time, then said quietly, "Age doesn't make you deaf to the world, but it does make you more tired of people trying to win arguments they don't even believe." He didn't yell, he didn't flinch, but his voice carried like thunder across the stage. Joy tried to smile it off, but the tension was far past saving. Ford looked at her again, then down at his hands before speaking again. "This is why actors stop doing interviews. You're not interested in my film or the work you want me to fight with you for ratings, and I won't." Asterisk. Joy replied testily, saying that this was The View, and if Ford didn't want opinions, he shouldn't have come. Ford shook his head slowly, standing up and pulling off his microphone with practiced calm, saying, "I came here out of respect for the show and for your audience, but if this is the kind of conversation you're offering, then I'm done here." The audience gasped, the moment surreal as Ford walked away, not dramatically but decisively, passing behind the cameras. While the rest of the hosts tried to recover, Joy looked stunned. Maybe not by what had happened, but by how little Ford seemed to care about the fallout. He didn't raise his voice, he didn't slam a door, he simply left, and it was somehow louder than any confrontation might have been. The producers cut to commercial late, but the damage had already been done, the audience still murmuring in disbelief. Asterisk. When the show returned, the remaining hosts tried to soften the moment. Joy offered a brief explanation, saying Harrison Ford didn't appreciate the line of questioning, and had chosen to exit. Whoopi tried to steer the segment back to lighter ground, but it was impossible to ignore what had just happened across social media. The clips exploded, viewers either praising Ford's calm dismissal of performative outrage or criticizing him for refusing to engage in deeper reflection. His fans defended him, saying his decades of work spoke for themselves as critics, accused him of being dismissive, condescending, and outdated. But most agreed on one thing: the interview had gone off the rails, and no one would forget it anytime soon. It wasn't just a celebrity walk-off, it was a collision of generations' ideologies and expectations, and it raised questions about the purpose of such interviews, whether they illuminate or merely provoke asterisk. Ford didn't issue a statement that day or the next, nor did his team offer apologies or clarifications. Instead, he resumed his press tour, appearing on other shows where the interviews remained civil, focused, and grounded in the work he had come to promote. Meanwhile, The View found itself in the center of another viral moment, one that forced a reflection on its tone. In the line between tough questions and hostile confrontation, Joy Behar briefly addressed the incident later in the week, saying only that she asked the questions others were afraid to. And if that made people uncomfortable, so be it. But even some of her fans noted that tone matters, delivery matters, and when a guest walks off without a single shout or insult, maybe there's something deeper that went wrong asterisk. For Ford, the moment marked a quiet boundary drawn in public view, a refusal to be reshaped by a media environment more concerned with controversy than conversation. He didn't storm off in anger, he walked off in rejection of the format itself, in rejection of the idea that all public figures must be reduced to slogans and sound bites. His presence was heavy, his exit heavier, not because he lost his temper, but because he didn't need to. His words and silence both cut equally, and while some might have hoped for more fireworks, it was the quiet resolve that struck hardest. It wasn't performative, it wasn't viral bait. It was simply Ford being Ford, unapologetic, unshaken, and unwilling to play along asterisk. The View continued airing the rest of the week, but the shadow of that interview lingered among fans and commentators alike. A viral clip was replayed, analyzed, and debated everywhere, from morning news to late-night talk shows. Some seeing it as a man out of step with the world, others as a man refusing to be molded by it. But either way, it was undeniable. Harrison Ford had reminded the audience of something easily forgotten in celebrity culture. That not everyone wants to be liked, not everyone needs to win, and sometimes walking away on when at F at N for Cess at when Pan when would the brand when with women's the way we was and was so was